What is going on, boys and girls, and welcome to another edition of WWE 13 Experience. And we are so close to the Royal Rumble, you can almost hear the crowd counting down from 10 and that buzzer ringing in your ears. This past week on Monday Night Raw, the Shield made their way to the ring with the Beast Incarnate Brock Lesnar along with Paul Heyman. That's right, Paul Heyman made his return to WWE TV after last week's attack on Vince McMahon. It is now pretty obvious after what Paul Heyman said that Brock Lesnar is a part of the Shield. Their little get together within that ring was cut short after the arrival of the cerebral assassin, the King of Kings, the Game, Triple H. He was in the building, he was looking pissed. Guys, you're going to have to stay tuned if you want to see what Triple H says or does to the Shield. So this past week, Monday Night Raw was live from Las Vegas, and what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. And every match of the evening would be determined by the spin of the Raw Roulette Wheel, including the main event between Chris Jericho and John Cena. The main event could be a Falls Count Anywhere match, it could be a steel cage match, or it could even be a tables match. But up first, for the first spin of the Raw Roulette Wheel, was the match between Ryback and the newly crowned United States Champion Jack Swagger. What match would it be? It landed on a Falls Count Anywhere match. Anything could happen in this one.
Making his way to the ring from Sin City, weighing 200, and approaching the ring from Perry, Oklahoma, weighing 263 pounds. The United States Champion.
Ryback and the United States Champion Jack Swagger didn't waste any time at all. They headed to the outside of the ring to do battle. And we should all know by now that outside the ring can be a very dangerous place to be. The concrete floor is only padded thinly, and those fan barricades can be very harsh to your body. And not forgetting the steel steps and the steel ring posts, and also what is possibly lingering underneath that ring. As you just witnessed, Ryback went searching under the ring. His eyes fell upon the notorious kendo stick. He pulled it out and started swinging for defenses, nailing Jack Swagger right in the midsection, and the sound of the shot rung around the whole of the arena. And if a kendo stick wasn't enough damage to the United States Champion Jack Swagger, Ryback lifted up Swagger on the outside of the ring and slammed him right on top of that trash can that he pulled out earlier from underneath the ring. This match was an all-out brawl. There was no stopping Ryback. He was absolutely dominating Jack Swagger. For some reason though, Ryback decided to take the table up the top of the ramp, and Swagger caught up with Ryback eventually, and they battled it out on the rampway. We've seen this numerous times in WWE, but we've never seen anything like this before. Ryback speared Jack Swagger off the ramp onto the concrete floor. There is no padding there whatsoever, and that's you've got to be questioning how much damage that is going to be doing to your body. Both Ryback and Jack Swagger were going through hell in the opening match of Monday Night Raw. Ryback finished it off with Shell Shocked on the steel rampway, went for the cover, Falls Count Anywhere, remember, and Jack Swagger picks up his first loss since returning a couple of weeks ago. Well, the next match of the evening on Monday Night Raw would once again be determined by the Raw Roulette, and AJ Lee, Dolph Ziggler's girlfriend, turned up for this spin as Dolph Ziggler would be taking on the Intercontinental Champion, The Miz. That match would be a steel cage match. Both men have the tendencies to run their mouth, so it was going to be very interesting to see them face off in the steel cage. But before that match got underway, Triple H picked his first victim of the Shield, attacking Seth Rollins in the parking lot with a lead pipe across the back. Triple H doesn't agree with what happened to his father-in-law last week, and he sure as hell means business.
Is a steel cage match. And approaching the ring from perimeter fight, weighing 231 pounds, the Intercontinental Champion.
Just like a Falls Count Anywhere match, a steel cage match can be a very dangerous place to be. The only way to win is by pinfall or escaping the cage either through the door or over the top. And in this match, Dolph Ziggler looked to pick up yet another win. He's been on an amazing run recently of beating opponents, whoever came to him, always backing up what he had to say. And The Miz is exactly the same. He always backs up what he has to say. So it was going to be a very tough match between both superstars. And last week, Dolph Ziggler issued another open challenge at the Royal Rumble for anyone that thinks they are worthy of taking him on. And The Miz, as of late, has been having a very tough time with San Diego's own Rey Mysterio. As we all know, Rey didn't agree with the way The Miz retained his Intercontinental title at Extreme Rules against his friend Christian. If we skip back a couple of weeks to that match at Extreme Rules, Christian was just a hands grab away from bringing that Intercontinental title home, but Miz was right there. He hammered Christian in the midsection with a closed fist and then continued to hammer on him, and then eventually pushed him off the ladder, almost ending Christian's career. And so Rey Mysterio is looking out to get some revenge on The Miz for his friend Christian, and hoping to face The Miz at the Royal Rumble for the Intercontinental title. Things were looking bleak for Dolph Ziggler in this match against The Miz in the steel cage on Monday Night Raw, as The Miz brought an end to Dolph Ziggler's good run of form. Maybe Dolph's good luck charm is his girlfriend AJ Lee, who wasn't present at ringside for this steel cage match against The Miz. And the question that hangs in the balance now, will Dolph Ziggler's open challenge still go ahead at the Royal Rumble in 2 weeks' time? Well, after that brutal steel cage match, Triple H picked his second victim from the Shield in the locker room. He attacked Roman Reigns from behind, very similar to what he did to Seth Rollins in the parking lot, and that has now put Roman Reigns out of action. It was almost time for the main event of the evening between John Cena and Chris Jericho, but before that could go ahead, the Raw Roulette Wheel had to be spun for one last time of the evening. On Monday Night Raw, what match could John Cena and Chris Jericho possibly be competing in? The wheel had stopped. It would be a special guest referee match. The special guest referee would be this guy.
The contest is a special referee match. Please welcome the special referee for this match from Chicago. Participants first. And from West Newbury, Massachusetts, weighing 240 pounds, John Cena.
Over the past couple of weeks, tensions have been rising high between the WWE Champion CM Punk and Chris Jericho. Well, this past week on Monday Night Raw, General Manager John Laurinaitis came out and announced that at the Royal Rumble, CM Punk will be putting his WWE Championship on the line in a singles match against Chris Jericho. Throughout the whole of the main event this past week on Monday Night Raw, CM Punk looked to be a very active referee, getting himself involved maybe a little bit too much as he put Cena off numerous times. There was nothing John Cena could do, otherwise he'd be disqualified by the referee, who of course was CM Punk. And you could see he was having fun with it. He was having fun with the little bit of power he had been granted for this special guest referee match. We all knew some sort of confrontation was going to be happening between CM Punk and Chris Jericho, and CM Punk screwed Jericho at the main event of Monday Night Raw this past week. Monday Night Raw in Las Vegas wasn't over just yet, as Paul Heyman, Brock Lesnar and Dean Ambrose made their way to the ring, minus Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, and Paul Heyman called Triple H out to finish it. What do we get at the end of the week? Screw the weekend. We get Friday Night SmackDown, which was live from Los Angeles, California this past week. And kicking things off was the little big guy, Rey Mysterio from San Diego, California, going head to head against Wade Barrett, who recently hasn't been on a good run of form after he lost his opportunity to enter the Royal Rumble at the number entrant 28. He will still be in the Royal Rumble. He just missed out on a great opportunity after he lost against the Big Show last week. I wonder if the Intercontinental Champion The Miz was taking note after Rey Mysterio took Wade Barrett to school, physically showing him the ins and outs of Lucha Libre wrestling. Mysterio thought he'd done enough to wear down Wade Barrett enough for him to dial up the 619. Barrett got caught up in the ropes, looking drowsy, and around came Rey Mysterio with a kick to the head. All he had to do now was get the cover, and it would all be over for Wade Barrett. But somehow, someway, Wade Barrett kicks out at the count of 2, and it was time for Wade Barrett to teach Rey Mysterio a lesson in old-fashioned Manchester brawling. It was back and forth action. Rey Mysterio chucks Wade Barrett over the top rope and then knocks him to the outside, bouncing his head off the Fang barricade. And then Mysterio, putting his own body on the line, chucks himself over the top rope, landing on Wade Barrett below. And then Barrett counters Rey Mysterio's attempt at maybe a Hurricanrana into a powerbomb. Mysterio goes for the quick roll-up and Wade Barrett kicks out at 1. But maybe it is time now to redial the 619. Barrett gets hung up in the ropes, nowhere to run once again, and Rey Mysterio finishes him off for a second time, looking to get that 3 count this time around. So there we have it, Rey Mysterio beat Wade Barrett in the opening contest of Friday Night SmackDown this past week. Rey Mysterio is well on his way of earning a shot at the Intercontinental Championship. After last week's display of dominance from the Giant, the Big Show, against Wade Barrett, Big Show looked to continue that run against Jinder Mahal this past week on Friday Night SmackDown. He earned himself the entry number 27 in the Royal Rumble in 2 weeks' time. He cocked his fist, it was poised, and nailed Jinder Mahal right between the eyes with that weapon of mass destruction. Surely now the Big Show has to be taken very seriously, as the Royal Rumble is just around the corner. All good things must come to an end, but there was still just a little bit of time left for the main event of Friday Night SmackDown. Alberto Del Rio was scheduled to team up with the world's strongest man Mark Henry in a tag team match to go head to head with the World Heavyweight Champion Randy Orton and the returning Great White Sheamus after he was taken out just a couple of weeks ago by that man, Mark Henry. Alberto Del Rio and Mark Henry were ready for action, and so was Sheamus, but the World Heavyweight Champion Randy Orton, he wasn't. He was nowhere to be found. Where was Randy Orton hiding? What was he playing at? Why wasn't he coming out to the ring to face off against the number 1 contender Alberto Del Rio and Mark Henry? Why wasn't he backing Sheamus? Just where the hell was he? The referee and Sheamus agreed that instead of being a tag team match, it would be a handicap match. Sheamus was ready to take on both Alberto Del Rio and Mark Henry. Sheamus wanted to get his hands on Mark Henry after the pain he inflicted upon him just a couple of weeks ago, but first he had to go through Alberto Del Rio. Of course, with a handicap match, it was 2 against 1. Numbers are eventually going to catch up with you. As the match progresses, your stamina levels are just going to hit rock bottom. And the worst thing about a handicap match is when you're wrestling in the ring with the likes of Alberto Del Rio, and the other guy is on the ring apron, resting up, waiting to be tagged in for his round. But somehow Sheamus dug deep within himself, and he was on a comeback. He was hitting Alberto Del Rio with everything he had. He was feeding off the energy from the crowd. Sheamus looked to get the 3 count to end the match, but Alberto Del Rio was there once again, knocking Sheamus down a peg or 2 with an enziguri to the skull. After building just that little bit of momentum up, Sheamus was ready to finish the match off. The number 1 contender for Randy Orton's World Heavyweight Championship title, Alberto Del Rio, was lifted up onto the shoulders of the Great White Sheamus and brought back down to the canvas with a massive Celtic cross. Surely that was all she wrote for this handicap match, but Mark Henry brought it upon himself to get himself into the ring and break up the count. And out of nowhere, Alberto Del Rio cinches in that cross arm breaker. Was Sheamus going to tap? It was looking very likely. He was so close to the ropes. Maybe he could just get a tip of his toe onto that bottom rope and break up the cross arm breaker. But somehow, again, Sheamus showing that inner strength to break out of the cross arm breaker. Del Rio then tagged in Mark Henry, and that meant the beginning of the end. Mark Henry hit Sheamus with a running splash. He wasn't going to be able to stand up after that one. Somehow, someway, Sheamus did, but as he turned around, he had to face the world's strongest slam head on, and surely that would be enough to put the Great White Sheamus to sleep. Well, after Alberto Del Rio and Mark Henry picked up the win in the handicap match against Sheamus, the question that still hangs in the balance: where was Randy Orton? Why didn't he turn up for the match? Why wasn't it a tag team match instead? Well, before Friday Night SmackDown went off the air, Randy Orton, the World Heavyweight Champion, was found in the parking lot, knocked out by a security attendant. That is the end of this week's episode, guys. I do hope you've enjoyed. I'll see you soon.